Well, hello. My name is Delores Naskrent, and I'm coming to you from sunny Manitoba, Canada. Welcome to the first installment of my template club. In this first installment, you're going to be learning how to create a full drop repeat using my new templates in Affinity Designer. Now, you're asking yourself maybe, what's so cool about this? Why is she so excited about this? Well, I can tell you right now, it's been a real game changer for me. I'm sure, doubled the output of my pattern design by using these templates. The thing that I really want to emphasize here is the fact that as you're designing your patterns, you're seeing in real time a number of repeats of the pattern as you move your motifs around and perfect your layout. Now, I'm going to pause just to have you really think about that for a second. If you've been designing patterns in Procreate, you know that as you're placing your motifs, you really don't know the overall impact that's going to have once the pattern is repeated. So what this means is a whole lot of testing before you can really perfect the way your pattern looks. And you and I both know that that takes a lot of extra time. What this process in Affinity Designer does is it takes the guesswork out of the positioning of your motifs. You're seeing those motifs everywhere on the repeats. We're using the symbols in Affinity Designer to help us with this process. So you know that we've been doing this for a while now, but this is a completely different method. Instead of using multiple artboards, you're going to see that we work directly on the canvas. And there we repeat all of our symbols. We'll be working on the initial symbol, which is centered on the page, and all of the other symbols are repeated around it. That means that as you're moving around your motifs, you're going to see that in all of the symbols. Now you can really make decisions about where the motifs look the best because you're seeing the repeat, the whole repeat. I can't wait to show this to you. So let's get started on this full drop. So welcome to the first video of the template club. I'm just going to be doing single videos showing the use of one specific template. This particular one is the full drop, so you can see that the pattern repeats straight across. I'm going to show you exactly how you're going to use the template that you're going to download attached to this lesson and open it up in Affinity Designer ready to use. I personally stored them in a central spot, so I've got them not just in my downloads folder, but I've created a folder called Master Templates, which is in my surface pattern design, all my designs listed here. So all of my collections, but I've got this folder at the top called Master Templates. I've put a few asterisks in front because that will pop it to the top of the list. And in this, I've got all of my templates, which you can see have the suffix AF template. So that's Affinity Designer Template. You can see that they're Affinity documents because of the icon that's here. All of these extra ones that you see here are examples that I have set up for each of the different classes. So the one that we're looking at today is this one here. So to start from scratch with any of the templates, you would just go to Affinity Designer. And from there, I'm going to actually go back to my gallery here. I have a folder for all of my pattern designs. So this is my pattern design folder here. I have been actually leaving a few of these loose in the gallery as I've been working on them for this series of templates. You can save them wherever you would like. You might want to have one folder that is specifically just your patterns, or one that's just specifically where you've created patterns from the templates. So now you would go to New, and in this case, you're not going to do a new document. You're going to do New from Template, and then you're going to hit this full drop template, and it's going to open up, and it's going to be just completely empty. The cool thing about this is that this document that's been created leaves the template as is in the folder. So anytime you open the document, you're literally making a copy of the template. So each of the templates that I've done, I have labeled in such a way to make it easier for you to deal with. So I've got this first level. So this is a symbol. You can see with the orange here on the edge. This is a symbol. And then you can see in the repeats here that the symbol has been copied to be in each location around the outside. So if I open up this folder, you'll see that it is a copy of your design, which is going to be this first layer. But I suggest that you just kind of keep that closed. Don't even touch it. The background is whatever color you want, so you can change the color just like you would in any other case. So if I wanted to have, let's say, a kind of a beigey background, that's what I would do. Now, of course, right now, everything is hidden here. You've got all of your symbols, and the actual symbol, in order to make it, I had to set it up with a rectangle on it, or a square, sorry, in this case. Generally, what I do is I leave this on for the positioning of the very first element, and you can either draw directly in here. So if I was to draw in here, let me just stroke it with a color so you can see how magically this is going to work, because as I've got something positioned here, it's doing all of the repeats for me. And one of the cool things is I can go over the edge here, and you can see that I am making, still a duplicate around the edge. First things first, you would go in and you would hide that background color that was in there initially just for me to set up the symbol. So that's how easy it would be. Now, personally, I prefer to work with some of my assets. Now, if I go all the way down and I get rid of this one, it's going to look weird here. You see how that makes kind of a symbol on your folder. I would just show this again temporarily while I get to work. And I'm going to actually drag some assets or insert some assets. Now some of them are extremely small, but they're vector, so we're good. It doesn't matter. You can enlarge it as much as you want because, like I said, it's a vector, so it'll work perfectly. And then you're probably asking yourself, well, okay, there's something wrong. What's going on here? It's not repeating. If you take a look in your layers folder, that group has been added above the symbol. So what you need to do is drag it into the symbol. And now let's turn off the initial background square. So you can see how amazing this is going to be. What I would do here is obviously adjust this. So let's make it into a lighter color. And now let's continue to add a few motifs. So I'm just going to randomly add a few things here that I think I can work with. So I can show you kind of the whole idea of arranging things here. This is my folksy flowers art set that I have in my store, and I think as a Procreate brush set. Now this flower you can see, even though it is in two parts here, that's how I've dragged it in from my asset folder. Any of these things that you drag in from an asset collection that you have can be adjusted once they're dragged onto your artboard. So I'm going to go into the outside part of this flower and I'm going to change its color to something a little bit darker, maybe kind of a darker goldish color, goldy peachy color, and then this I will lighten up. And I'm just using the drag feature to do that. So you could probably see here that these extra motifs that I've just dragged in here are not showing up everywhere else on my artboard here. So that means I have to move them right into the symbol layer. And isn't that just simply magical? At this point, like I said, you can drag things off the edges if you want to. You can rearrange, you can resize. Something like this you could duplicate. So 3-finger swipe down and duplicate. Let's flip this one horizontal and maybe pull this one over into this area. What I often do with something like this is I super lighten it so that I can move it in behind other things. And you see how nicely it shows and fills up space, but doesn't compete with the elements. That's another one where I could duplicate it, flip it, and then position it. Now you're going to find that in some cases, the order is not necessarily working the way you would imagine it because we're technically in this symbol, but it's overlapping into this copy of the symbol. So it doesn't necessarily do it the same way all the way around. But remember that this initial square is what is important. That's what you're going to be exporting as your pattern tile. You may find that in some situations you have to take that symbol that you've created and place it underneath the whole grouping of repeat symbols. So keep an eye on this part here. And you see when I dragged that symbol behind the copies of the symbols, that then it's corrected that little problem that I had there. So then you may find too that you'll have to still reposition. In this case, I'm just going to pull this one down to the bottom instead. It's still filling up exactly where I want it. Always keep your eye on the prize. That's that middle section, which is the one that you need to have working perfectly in order for this to work on POD sites and whatnot. If you want to see just this part of it, like so just the center, you can go into clip to canvas mode here. And now you're seeing just your single tile that you'll be exporting. This is what you would need to export to Spoonflower or any other POD site. You just need this. So technically, seeing all of this, even though you see it all, it's really not part of the repeat. So always focus on this. So if weird things are happening over here, see over here, I was accidentally in this part of the repeat. Let's go back and I'm going to select the original, which is this one here. And now you see when I move it, it's correct. It's over top of the motif that I want it to be over top of. It isn't over here, mind you, but in a case like this, I think I would just kind of reposition it. Now you may have some weird things that happen. I noticed that the more and more I added to my document, the more and more times I would run into weird little issues. So look at this one. This one, even though I thought I was putting it into the group, it went below the group. So make sure you always drag it into the group that you're working with. But I found that sometimes things got glitchy and I would have a really busy motif like this that has a whole bunch of different parts. And then over on the repeats here, it wasn't showing all of the different parts of the motif. So then what I would do is I would do the 3-finger swipe and cut, and then the 3-finger swipe again and paste, and then would be enough that it would sort of resync the symbol. I don't know what it does in the background, but whatever it was, it did work. So if ever you have something weird like that happen, just remember that that's an option. I know I'm throwing a lot at you for this very first template, but I would like to post this and have it ready for you so that you can check this out for me. I guess experiment, you're my guinea pigs, and just see if you run into any problems at all with the use of the template. I found I've used this one over and over again, and like I said, the only glitch I would ever run into is maybe that thing where there's an overlap not happening the way I want. I would always just double check, okay, is it all right though within my own symbol? If it's right, then I'm not worrying about it. And so in a case like that, did you notice right here, that flower is then behind the fern. So that would be an opportunity to experiment with actually dragging it over to this side. And now you can see it is actually over that fern. So it covered it. So a lot of times that's all it is. So I've given you a bunch of information about the use of this template. I'm really hoping that this is going to be helpful and that you don't run into any glitches. If you do, please let me know so that I can fix the problem or figure out a solution for you. But at this point, I could actually export this and that would be my pattern tile. The one that I was showing you is this one here. And you can see I went absolutely crazy with the motifs, same motifs, but I created a beautiful pattern tile that I could now export and sell on Spoonflower. So welcome to the first installment of the Template Club. I really hope you enjoy using these. The next one we're going to look at is a full drop, but with a reflection in the center. So this is the one that we will be doing next. It's a full drop, also reflects from side to side. So that one's going to be super fun. I'll see you next month in the Template Club. Bye for now.